stuff in here, like, methods of finding a henchman, posting prior, it's just so rich with information that I don't feel I'm ever going to use, but it's here if I want to get technical about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dreaming as I drive. I've been inside my own head for days, but this fantasy is keeping me awake. I wanna get lost in the night, stuck in a road stop neither of us like. Eat till we drop, laugh till we cry. Tell me it's not too late. I wanna get lost and miss the signs. I never liked adventure, but you changed my mind. Sleep with the stars, lose track of time. Tell me it's not too late to try. Tell me it's not too late. We could see the
Had fun when you realized that you started your stream with the on the wrong
There's
screen.
no place on this earth
Oh.
that isn't better with your hand in mine. It's taken me
Even when I get it right, I
way
can't get it right.
too long to realize.
Oh man,
And now I'm dreaming as I drive.
another minute or two, and then we will get started. I can see some people currently.
Watching you kiss on my
I will not call them out by name though, because I do not do that. Thank you for
Getting
listening.
tired of the twists and the turns we take, but at least this fantasy is keeping me awake. Yeah, I wanna get lost in the night, stuck in a small town.
In this mode where having my glasses on at a certain, it's right at that, blurry stage with the glasses, but the whole bifocal thing.
Hey Chris, good to see you. Thank you for popping in. We're going to get started in just about a minute or so. All right, let's get the show on the road. And the music. And yes, success. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the TTRPG Theater. I am your host, Rob Phantom NJ. With me today, I have once again a special guest, George Ultramagnus Hardy from the Solar Games Discord and other gaming discords that you might be in. There's a few. I'm sure there's probably even more than I might not even be aware of, but how are you doing this afternoon, George?
I'm doing well. How are you, Rob?
George, you're suddenly very, very low.
Oh. I'll see if I can increase my mic.
There, you're better there. I don't know if it's just very sensitive. It wasn't picking you up, or
okay. So how are you, Rob? Yeah. Now I'm.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's it's Thursday, so we've got it seems like this day just keeps coming quick. Touch of Evil, good to see you. Yes, we do have a TLG giveaway going on. Proler Games is a sponsor of this channel, and we have a giveaway for a $10 digital product coupon, good for the Troller Games site. So, please enter, and we will choose a winner at the end of the stream. So, about an hour, give or take. So a couple of weeks ago, when George was last with us, we talked a lot about NPCs and building NPCs and using NPCs, and the topic of henchmen and such came up, and I mentioned that I think it kind of warranted its own discussion, because I feel like maybe in older school play it was used a lot more than it is now. I think we're at the kind of point where a lot of game masters just don't want to be bothered with the mechanics of it. Um, and I think it kind of loses something, and especially if you're doing like a pure straight on dungeon crawl type adventure. Maybe for overland epic, get from point A to point B and kill the thing and bring back the item and whatever the case. Might not as bring as much to the table from a gaming standpoint, but maybe what's your thoughts on that are?
I think you're spot on, with like OD&D and AD&D 1E. I think, like the charisma checks, or charisma score, it was all about the henchmen, right? Number of followers.
Yeah, no, that is true. There was a lot that went well with regards to followers and such. Speaking of old school, we got Lord Gazumba in the house. Hey Jay, good to see you. We will and Jay has his 40. Is it still 43 or have we hit 44 yet, Jay? 43-year-old campaign, 44 now. We are at 44. Oof. Oh boy. 44-year-old campaign that will has another session this evening, and we will be rating in about an hour. Enoch, Pratt, good to see you. Thank you for joining us this evening. So yeah, you're right. There was the whole thing with the charisma being a factor in how many you got and your relationship with them. I mean, obviously, charisma would also play into your interactions with other NPCs, but from a functional standpoint, especially when you got to that level 9, yeah, you wanted those followers. I mean, you looked at level 9 and you start talking about, I mean, not quite domain level play, but getting to that point where you're talking about your characters being major players in the realm.
Right.
And I think in a way it's gone away from that a bit. I know, I know one of the reasons it's gone away is because nobody likes dealing with encumbrance. I mean, there are, campaigns, and I'm sure there are campaigns out there where you've got a group of people around who love to play the very, very nitty gritty details. Fine. I mean, listen, if you like that style of game, fantastic. I'm not here to yuck anyone's yum. I just don't think there are all that many. There's some that might want to, and then they get into all the number crunching that goes into it, and they realize that dealing with encumbrance is a pain. Dealing with it's Dungeons and Dragons or Castles and Crusades, not castles and logistics.
That's very true. And back then, having a lot of henchmen and hirelings and such, it really was to help out in the dungeon. We didn't like a little bit more of an old school game, and we had the torchbearer with us. Your job is just to hold the torch while we try to kill things, and you get a dagger.
And hopefully you try to keep the torchbearer alive.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So I guess one of the first things that we should probably do is we've got the Castle Keeper's Guide with us, and let's go to talking about henchmen, because red shirts. Yeah. Well, Jay, I'm hoping that in most, well, I mean, not that they would really if they, if the party wasn't very careful, but you'd hope that the hirelings and henchmen would fare better than red shirts, because otherwise you're going to get a reputation. It's going to get very hard to hire them. So I think one of the things that we should probably do is differentiate between henchmen and hirelings. So let's go to the henchmen section of the castle. Let's see how they define them. The henchman is a class-based NPC hired by the characters to augment a party, usually filling gaps. For instance, a party without a rogue may seek to hire a skilled rogue to locate any traps and any locked doors they encounter in a dungeon. A party who has a cleric who does not practice healing spells may wish to hire a cleric who does, etc. Henchmen are used at all levels of play. They have highly variable loyalty and morale rates, depending on how they are being treated and paid. They are expensive as they are skilled warriors, wizards, clerics, and similar. So, funny thing, in my own campaign that I started, the Embers of Empire campaign I started, I might have accidentally just kind of gotten rid of the need for henchmen of this sort, just because the party is part of an adventurers guild. So there are always other guild members available. I have a small stable of guild members. As a matter of fact, lately at the start, because they were technically supposed to be building out the guild in the first place, it was actually a couple of the leaders that were helping out. I might need to reconsider that. Maybe characters that are applying to the guild, potential PCs for other people, to take over in the future. I know that is a tactic I believe Jay has used that a bit in his campaign. But yeah, what about you? Have you used a lot of henchmen in your games you've run? George.
Oh, I have at times, yeah. It fills in the community, and like you were saying, for having them in the guild itself, that way it helps with downtime and things like that. A lot of times it's if a PC goes down as an unconscious and things, I'll let one of the party members in a dungeon take over a henchman or a hireling, whatever the case may be. So that way they're not sitting there all night kind of bored. It just ups it up a little bit that, this new character is starting to take on a new role.
And Mr. Ty, good to see you, sir. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. Hope things are going well. Ty is part of the duo behind Adventure Slang, and they have a new TTRPG coming out at some point. I just got a special email. Ooh. I will have to check that out when I get a moment. But yeah, no, they've been working on their own TTRPG called New of Arden. It is a lot of fun. I had a chance to play test it very early on, so I'm looking forward to that. And when that time comes, when it's ready, I will need to have you on, you and Aaron on, one or both of you, preferably both of you, but so we can talk about it, because I think it's well worth sharing with people. Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out, like, I've been really, now that I think, I've been really bad about making it a cost, we're talking about logistics. Let's just use the term cost center for the party, because one of the eternal complaints that you get at times is, players have so much gold, they'll get to a point where they've got a lot of gold and nothing to spend it on. Well,
yeah.
This is a good thing to spend it on.
Yeah, and by spending it on hirelings and such, it just goes to help the party out more. You never want your character to die with a pouch of full of gold, right? Use that money, invest it, get some hirelings. Even if they're doing some mundane tasks, at best they can scream when, that beholder comes around the corner or whatever, but yeah, use the hirelings and henchmen as needed.
So in the cast group guys says, once the CK rolls up the henchmen, they should take time fleshing them out, giving the henchman a name, a little background, a few personality traits. Makes sense. Good chance the henchman has joined the party to stay. And if their loyalty and morale hold, they continue as an employee of the party. It behooves the CK to have a well-rounded, believable end. I mean, I guess I could see them bringing on a henchman as a full-time party member. Not entirely sure how I feel about that. Though I guess if you're dealing with a party that has an obvious gap, you kind of sort of need it.
Yeah. And you want to be dynamic with that, character that you're putting in the party. They're not just going to roll over. The cleric is going to maybe expect the party to give extra treasure for the healing. The rogue might be taking a little bit off the top. All the classic tropes that the NPCs may have, or hirelings, henchmen.
Yeah, and Jay, I'm with you on the in-party NPCs because here's the thing that the way I look at it: if you've got a henchman who's actually just joined the party straight up, and assuming that you're having the henchman at the same level at the party, relatively strength that the party is. At what point does it make sense, instead of paying them, to just the henchman wanting a full share? If you're part of the party. Yeah, and Jay, you're right. I guess it's one of those things where it's the quibble as far as defining a henchman in the traditional sense, versus what it actually ends up being most of the time. And I think most of the time it does end up being an in-party PC.
Right.
True. Very true. Hey, Keith, good to see you, sir. Glad to have you with us. We are talking Henchmen and Hirelings with Ultramagnus, George Hardy from TLG Discord and other places. We will have to figure out to find other places for you at some.
I just really hang out at the Trolls Lord Discord. There's too much going on elsewhere, and I don't want to get wrapped up with my time elsewhere,
Real long shot, good to see you. Glad you can make it. We have a Troll Lord Games giveaway going on. Exclamation point ticket to enter. $10 digital coupon towards any digital product on the Troll Lord Games site. All right. So yeah, we've kind of gotten into the henchman is something that you're probably going to flesh out a bit. It is going to be more or less a really honestly a fully fleshed out NPC. So
Right.
I guess with that in mind, maybe we should switch to the hireling. And hireling. Hireling is a non-class based NPC hired to serve characters in general or specific tasks. They are most often used at higher levels to populate strongholds and towers, or to outfit large bodies of men for war. However, low-level characters may wish to use their own hirelings for small tasks, and you mentioned it right there, such as torchbearer or porter. Hirelings are generally inexpensive, but have shaky morale and loyalty. They include porters, guardsmen, men-at-arms, laborers, leather workers, teamsters, masons, etc. I think and this is again because I think the style of play has changed over the years. Not even really the style of play, almost the style of adventure. It used to be dungeon crawls used to be I think a much larger percentage of things than they are now. Even the dungeon crawls that we do nowadays, they're really maybe for the most part, a lot of them are quick, it might be like 12, 14 rooms or something like that. You know, if the party's being careful, it might take a couple of sessions, but otherwise, there are the mega dungeons. I mentioned that PLG does have the reprint of Castle Zagig coming out with 17 levels of dungeons. So and there are others. I think the value in hirelings and where I always saw it is that idea of a party that basically finds a dungeon. They know they're going to be there for a while. And in order to, do what they need to do, they need to basically have a camp.
Yeah.
And having that camp requires, probably requires having some specialized skills. Could the party do it themselves? Yeah, I mean, if you want to just kind of like hand wave that all away, the party's got their rations or maybe they do some hunting, but realistically speaking, they want to be able to have some place that they can come back to each day and, while till they make their next foray into the dungeon.
Right.
So, they mentioned torchbearers, they mentioned porters, and a lot of the others sound more like the stuff they talk about at a castle or stronghold or such. What would you see as like some of the other things that they'd want in terms of like for a base camp? What would you want them consider type of hireling that might bring along with you?
Well, I think just at the very basic level, cook, right? Or cook / quartermaster, I would say.
Quartermasters, that was the one. Yeah, that was the one I was looking for. Quartermaster.
Yeah. And I don't know if this would be in the adventuring party or not. I could see this being back at the home base more so. The classic sage, right? You always need the sage who's researching or, can figure out what that tablet says or decipher a script.
Okay, so like basically, I hesitate at sage only because sage to me is usually the wizened old person off on the mountaintop somewhere that the party needs to get to get that information.
Yeah. Well, also the wizard or, the retired old man, the librarian, that
honestly,
you get out of the dungeon. Go ahead.
Honestly, it could be the cleric who doesn't adventure, just basically is there at the end of the day to bandage the party, tend to the wounded, as it were.
Right.
Which I think honestly makes for an interesting thing. Having a party that doesn't necessarily have a cleric with them in the dungeon and has to decide, when it's time to withdraw to safety and the promise of potential healing.
Right.
All cooks and of course, I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm going to go through with the old tropes of having all cooks / quartermasters in my campaigns named Cookie.
Is that from
I forget where it's from, but it seems like I remember it feels like it's from multiple places where.
Yeah, I just had oh my gosh, it's with Jack Palance, City Slickers, the classic cookie chef type character.
Mm-hmm.
With being an alcoholic, adding in a few other traits where things go wrong, just to build that up.
Always threatening the lives of the characters if they insult his cooking.
Yeah. But moving away from a trope though, it is fun to make up that NPC that's not radically different, but that is different enough that it adds to the game. For example, I stole this from Marvel. I had a character named Wesley, who was the accountant, except it was like a character looking like Guido, strong upper body, small little glasses, and that was just that character, Wesley,
strong upper body, wire rim glasses.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
Uh,
something different, than the norm, uh,
so Pat Rose, hey Pat, good to see you. You have henchmen, hirelings, and henchmen who plays them. That would be the castle keeper or the GM or dungeon guide, whatever you call the person who is currently running this. Um, I look at the list of hirelings and it's interesting because men at arms is another, especially if you're in a dungeon crawl where you're after treasure, having men at
yeah,
arms and hopefully you have men at arms that you can trust, pay them well. Would be a good idea in terms of guarding said treasure while you're going in for the next round. Um, but I do like the scout. Having a
yes.
scout. Now, what do you see the benefit? Because I have my own thoughts, but I'd like to hear yours first on the benefits of having a scout as a hireling.
I think it easily takes the place of the ranger. It's
Mhm.
your guide and, the one who's telling you if the road ahead is dangerous or, how to navigate around certain things. That experienced woodsman.
I, and yeah, all true. I think there's an added benefit, and it's a good way to avoid splitting the party.
Oh,
Um,
true.
and because one of the things you can use the scout for is the scout can be scouting while the party is doing other things at the campsite. Um, they
Yeah,
don't need to be with the party. It kind of helps call out the things that they need to know. Of course, there's always we go need to go rescue our scout. The scout's overdue. Blah blah blah. But it's I think it helps move things along. Where if you have a one player who needs to go off, now suddenly you're dealing with people in two different places. You're going to react a little differently when you're talking about having a player doing the player character doing the scouting, and if you're having an NPC that nobody sees doing the scouting. You're not you don't have to role play that out. It's basically the role
yeah.
play happens when they get back with their report. Field Superior, good to see you, Dave.
I
I saw
like,
the pictures from GuildCon. Looked awesome, and one of these years I will be able to make it out there. I look forward to being able to do it. I just need the stars to line up and other things to happen.
I like that approach with the scout because it does keep the party together, especially, and you get to feed them the information of what's happening. You get to role play it, you get to add it back in, and it makes it a little bit mysterious too, especially if the scout goes missing.
Uh, you know, Dave did bring up an interesting point. Pay the hirelings well, or they might abscond with your loot. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely a concern. You mentioned unionize, and that's one of the one of the interesting things about having these types of hirelings is are you going to a guild to get these, like are you going to a particular type of guild to get these hirelings? Do they is there a quartermaster society? I mean, you hear about beggars guilds and things like that, but there might be a for men at arms, just basically a sellsword company that you can hire men at arms from. So technically, they're yeah, they already have some kind of organization behind them, which is great because it also makes it a lot easier for the party to go and find what they need. You don't want a party saying, well, we need to do this, and it's like, all right, well, where are we going to go to find them? I don't know.
Yeah.
It also highlights the value of cities because you're more likely to find these in cities.
And you can have a lot of fun with that. You can have them hire the incompetent, just like at work, you hire the wrong guy.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're paying way too much for what you're getting back, right? You know, the I'll just pick on IT, the IT guy who, can do it all, and then you suddenly find out he's confused by an IP address. You know, you start to question what you got.
I like Patro's devil's advocate on the pay thing. Pay the hireling adequately so it doesn't think you're wealthy and steal your loot anyways.
There you go.
Uh, 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 I love it. I was joking about what do you call it, dungeons and logistics, or castles and logistics. Now we have the new game is now logistics and labor strife.
Like looking at page 84 of the CKG, it covers the retaining of a hireling's loyalty, right? So, like, what happens if you pay them like half or a quarter of what you should versus, being spot on? How loyal are they going to be? There's a lot of stuff in here that covers, what they're going to do. And, even on page 85, the rating and effect, now suddenly, are they going to betray you? Are they going to flee at the first sight of danger? They really put a lot of work into this, including the morale checks for the hirelings.
Yeah. So yeah, let's see. Let's dig into that a bit. Pertaining to hirelings' loyalty. In order to determine a hireling's loyalty, the castle must understand the relationship they have with the PCs. They're temporarily employed, treat them as adherents. They are permanently employed, then another set of rule governs their loyalty. For the temporarily employed, such as day laborers, it is almost never necessary to make a loyalty check as they have no loyalty to the party at all. Fair? Hirelings immediately flee at any sign of danger. The manner in which player characters treat permanently employed hirelings, including their pay and living conditions, affects their loyalty rating. Not necessary to check the loyalty of hirelings frequently, assuming they are paid, fed, housed, not abused. Such hirelings have a standard loyalty rating. If they are not paid or are mistreated in any way, it impacts their loyalty to the player character. Like loyalty checks during situations of extreme danger, such as when a tower is attacked or a troop is waylaid by bandits.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's really thorough too.
Yeah, conditions and stuff. Actually, one of the other interesting things that they note is supplying hirelings. Hirelings do not normally come equipped. Even specialty hirelings require some outfitting. Though the hireling is not a pauper, the PC will need to equip them. A hireling who may possess some job-related equipment sets that aside in order to acquire newer, better equipment from their employer. Player characters must purchase any armor, weapons, spell components, any other gear the hireling needs. Much like henchmen, how a character equips a hireling affects their loyalty and can affect their morale. Of course, and perhaps more importantly, can affect their ability to do their job. For instance, an archer without a bow is fairly useless. Okay.
Yeah. For some of us, sundering the bow is awesome. Break that bow.
Yeah, I don't do many I don't do a full-on fumble table. My fumble, critical fumbles are usually, if it's a ranged weapon, I'll have it see whether or not they accidentally hit another character. If they do roll double nat ones, then I will have the bow snap or the bowstring snap.
Yeah.
I keep it simple. I don't want to go too far with it.
Rob, that's an important part right there. I learned this very early in gaming. If
Mhm.
you're playing a ranger, always have an extra bowstring on your character sheet under your equipment.
Oh yeah. Uh yeah, so I like the idea, and I think it also, provides the potential for, it does provide the potential for additional role play, because one of the things that happens is, overland journeys of any type, you kind of a lot of the time you tend to gloss over it. You
Mhm.
can have the opportunity to have some meaningful role play with the hirelings and such, different situations coming up. If you're kind of looking for something to do along the way that doesn't require just randomly rolling to see whether or not they get attacked by anything that day, uh
Right.
needs and the needs of the hirelings and interaction with our can provide that kind of interaction.
Mhm.
It can provide for some overland journey stuff.
Yeah.
um hmm,
Just having a hireling with the party. So, for example, the scout. The nice part about having the scout is you might want to give a bonus for getting lost or not getting lost, right? Having an engineer in the party, maybe that helps with additional issues, like how are you going to cross the river? Can never get enough of that, huh? Uh, the
if,
surgeon,
if the game's being run by Steven Chenault, never, you do not cross the river. Turn
just turn
away.
around.
Around.
Face the orcs, face the gnolls, don't go across the river. Um, you know, Having some of these classes may give you bonuses at times. Like I said about decipher script before, the sage, or a character like the sage might be able to help figure out what it says. The man at arms or the guardsman may be able to figure out what the patrols are doing in this area. You know.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm looking at this, and I'm trying to see if it's on the list somewhere. A hireling that isn't on here. Here's one for you. The translator.
Oh, that would be perfect.
You
Yeah.
know, so sometimes you just want to have that guy who can actually speak orc, you know,
Yeah.
just in case the party doesn't, or you're headed into territory. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be their whole reason for being there, but the fact that they can, potentially extra coin for the hireling for the ability to do so and willingness.
Um, Rob, before the show, I wanted to look at the classic first edition Dungeon Master's Guide.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for all the uh, I can't think of the page right now, but um, like from the first edition book, page 191.
Hold on a second. Let me see if I can bring that up.
Oh, these are actually random encounters. But some of them are applicable.
All right, you said 190.
Yeah, and it's not the table I really wanted, but it works. I'm sure one of the guys in the Twitch channel will know exactly where it is, but um, you know, just naming off a few of them, you have the pilgrim, the mercenary, the merchant, you know, the noble. While this is more random encounters, you could easily flip this over to the other classes. Not classes, but hirelings, right? The
Oh
city
yeah.
guard, the local bandit. that maybe the party comes in contact with. That's your rogue that you hire. It doesn't have to be on the table for random encounters. It could just be, but I'm sure that there's something about lower level. The
CC
sages.
hirelings are in the Castle Keeper's Guide, Dave. It is the henchman starts on page 76, and hirelings specifically start on page 82.
I was just looking at some of the old school, you know, classes and such,
Mm-hmm.
or hirelings that you used to be able to get.
So actually, let me focus in on fairly readable me.
Yeah, there's
So, standard hirelings table. This is on page 28 of the first edition DMG, or at least the
I'm sorry,
original.
which page?
28.
Wow. It's been a while since I've been in this book.
They've got
There we go.
yeah, they've got the bearer slash porter, basically just muscle to carry
Yeah.
things around. A carpenter,
Mhm.
a leather worker,
The pack handler.
pack handler. Yep. That would be, especially if you're, especially if you're dealing with like doing encumbrance rules and the getting treasure out of a dungeon. Yeah, we talked about, or I talked to a while back, did a whole session on the problem of the treasure hoard,
Mhm.
and this probably would have been a great conversation to have like week after, but it is what it is. Um, yeah, these are the kind of things that you're going to want to have to Teamsters. Teamsters are basically drivers of cars and wagons, carts, carts and wagons. I was saying cars. They will also load and unload their vehicles. They're expert animal handlers with respect to their particular specialty of draft animal only. So
Yeah.
whether they've got a team of horses, mules, oxen, whatever. Yeah, I mean these are the kind of things if you're looking to get a treasure hoard um out in as few trips as possible, these are the kind of people that you're going to need.
Yeah.
And,
And
and go, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
it brings back that older style of play. You actually have to hire people to do work for you, you know, and trust them.
Mm-hmm. Which, going back to the, I think all treasure hoard patros. I think all treasure hoards should be stored in a plain-looking bag of holding. This way, you have no idea how much stuff you might get. Plus, you get a bag of holding for free.
Nice.
Love it. One bag of holding per treasure hoard. Thank you. Thank you.
No.
Oh man.
And you know, I could see giving definite bonuses for, a lot of these things for the party. There has to be a return on investment, right? You're paying for this hireling, whether it's an armor or a blacksmith, whatever it is, um, you need to get a bonus, I would say, or even a penalty. Like, you hire the wrong blacksmith or person, what is it, furrier to shoe your horses. Well, you hire the wrong guy, and your horses are throwing shoes. And I don't want to get into that level of play like we were talking about, but just enough to make it interesting.
Well, I mean, I think in some ways a guide that gets you lost.
Yeah. Could you
So,
imagine? Put that
so
into your next game, right?
And would not stop and ask directions. Always that guy. I mean, I like the idea for those who, I'm not the biggest person on random encounters tables. I more like to have my encounters sort of planned. Like I may decide where and when, but I have an idea of what encounters I want them to have along the way. Just because it's like if you're gonna do random encounter tables, like you're going to do them, and there are times when that can just feel, having it completely RNG, the potential for something that the party is just not ready for feels kind of bad. I don't want, I don't want, it's one thing to have the party to, die because they had a couple bad dice, bad dice rolls in a combat, and it just, the dice rolls during a combat where, assuming that they, took on something that they should have been able to handle, it just didn't go their way. Okay, that happened. Right. Having the wrong type of thing show up because of random dice at a time when the party was in no way, shape, or form going to be able to handle it. And, random encounters are the type that normally the party can't get out of. They're sprung. It happens. Yeah. And, it's normally going to be a fight unless they are very, very, very creative. It just feels bad. It's not my cup of tea. That's a little too much RNG.
Yeah.
I do like the idea, but if you are the type that does like random encounter percentages, I think if you have a party, if you have hirelings like scouts, like men at arms to help protect, I think there should, I agree with you. I think there should be bonuses that help prevent those encounters from happening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, see you soon. I like the idea that, some things are just not going to want to take on a well outfitted group. And, a well outfitted group of characters is one thing. A well outfitted group where there's also like 15 visible members because they've got, a sizable entourage, and including men at arms with visible weapons and such. That's a different matter. That especially if it's humanoids in question that are doing the potential attacking.
Right.
A small band of orcs may look at a party and say, "Ooh, that this could work in our favor." Looking at a group of, possibly 10 to 12 armed individuals is a different matter altogether. Short of a full on raiding party, I don't think they're taking that chance.
Right.
But it mentioned his teamsters and such. And again, I think you're talking about having that bad, that bad guide, the archer that can't shoot straight, I think this is where parties taking advantage of those particular societies, those particular guilds, hiring, if you need a thief, hire from the Thieves Guild. If you're hiring a thief and a thief's not in a Thieves Guild, hire them in the Thieves Guild.
Yeah.
Because now you've added another dimension to it. Now you've added the dimension of the reputation of said group they're hiring from.
Mm-hmm.
And that works both ways. You've also got reputation of said party with that particular group.
Yeah. And, I think one of the important parts with the hirelings and henchmen is to have the good ones in too. The scout who actually gets you there 4 hours quicker because he knows a shortcut. Mm-hmm. Adding something like that in, because you don't want to hold the party back, right? Because it gets old. I had one player in a group. She didn't want to give a backstory or have a hometown or anything. And her simple thing was, as a DM, you're going to look to exploit that. So I will have no connections with anything. Therefore, And I really tilted my head on that one. I think that's for another show, though, Rob.
There's a lot to unpack in that statement.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but there's a lot to unpack there, and I've got thoughts on that one. I've had streams about backstories before, but yeah, no, we can go back to the whole backstory and player character development, for sure, because yeah, that one, wow,
So
I have questions.
So I was looking through, and it has it covered in the Castle Keeper guide, the different personalities. And I think the
Which page are you on? You know,
um, 88,
which page?
page 88.
88.
The background, the alignment, and the personality. Very basic, very straightforward, uh, to give them that personality, the gruff personality or the overly forgiving or, judgmental. That's a nice one, um, just to add it in. And to, I think as a DM, we have to role play this. So that way it adds a little bit more flavor, like I'm a Teamster, pack your own bag. You're late, you woke up late, I'm not dealing with your stuff.
By the way, I'm glad you took me to page 88 because we now have another stream. How not to use NPCs. Oh man, because yeah, there are definitely ways not to use NPCs. That might be part of I'm not sure that's a conversation all on its own, but that made me chuckle when I look at it. Yeah, no, the alignment part is important. Having an idea of their background, is important, and personality, just especially if you're someone who doesn't, as a castle keeper, as a game master, doesn't do voices and such. Just having different personalities and noting what their personality is enough
Right.
to differentiate most NPCs. You don't have to go full on accents and whatever. Just have a slightly different tone. Have a basically slight difference in your voice, the pitch, how high or how low they speak, how quickly they speak, how slowly they speak, and just their general attitude. And yeah, you've got a personality for your NPC right there. With without too much work, as long as you note it down and you can reasonably keep to it.
Right. Not to go back too much, but the first edition DMG, page 100 and 101, making up an NPC. There's different tables such as sanity, right? Disposition, personality, modest, hostile, rude, rash, diplomatic, hostile, rude, courteous, disposition, cheerful, harsh, easygoing, hot-headed, nature, soft-hearted or vengeful, jealous, all these tables like bravery. Talk about a table that and even if you don't use the table, just going through here for keywords to describe your NPC. Pick 3 of these on either of the 2 pages when making your NPC. Because I think a lot of us get into that rut of, this NPC is going to be like this, this, and this. Well, with these tables, you can really spruce it up. It goes back to a thought of using your old resources, right? We have a ton of books around, collecting dust that we don't get off the shelf or open as a PDF. And I think for NPCs, it's one of the books you want to look at.
George, I didn't come onto my own stream to be attacked like this.
Sorry. Sorry, my friend.
What's funny is you think they're on shelves.
They're not on shelves? What?
My books are everywhere except on shelves. They're in bins. They're on the table. They're stacked in piles. They're in boxes. I need shelves. Lots and lots and lots of shelves. Heavy duty shelves. Need heavy duty
We'll
shelves.
set up a GoFundMe for Robert.
No, what I need is somebody to just like deliver it and put it together so that it actually happens, and it isn't like the table for the 3D printer that I have. That I finally bought a printer. I bought a 3D printer years ago, and I realized that after talking to people that I needed a solid table to put it on. So I bought a table months ago, and yeah, it's still sitting. Table is still sitting in the box in the other room because I haven't gotten around to cleaning the space the table's going to go into. And that's what I keep telling myself because I've got ADHD and it sucks. Oh man. All right. All right. We are getting to just about that time. So any last your printer has sat on an old coffee table for 3 years now. How solid is your coffee table? Like, because my coffee table printer would bounce that thing around like crazy. Especially if I'm trying to do a print, My other problem is my coffee table would be at eye level with my dog, and that would be a very, very bad. All right, so let's see. We're getting about that time, and we are going to do the giveaway in just a little bit. Exclamation point ticket to enter if you have not already entered. It is a $10 coupon towards any digital product from the Trollord Games website. And they just released a trailer not too long ago for Castle Zagig for the I guess for the rest of it that is eventually coming. Igsberg is already out and available. All right. Interesting. But yeah, so that's $10. Like I said, $10. They've added some new adventures that I need to actually have stuff on the site that I don't own, which is new. I have to go back and make sure of the things that I don't own though, so that I get the right ones. Any last thoughts on this, George, before we wrap up?
I was going to ask you if I could challenge you
All
to
right.
challenge you to make up like what 3 NPCs by next week. 3 on a note card or note cards. Do you have note cards?
I might have note cards somewhere. You want to know how bad my ADHD is? I was upstairs earlier, just before the stream. I was staring at the Rogues Gallery on my kitchen table, and I remembered us just having a discussion last week or 2 weeks ago about the Rogues Gallery.
Yeah.
Now I had the Rogues Gallery, and I'm like, okay, I'll bring the Rogues Gallery downstairs with me. I got distracted. The Rogues Gallery is still sitting upstairs.
Nice.
So I'd be able to get myself to buy note cards before next week's game. But 3 NPCs, I'm about 3 NPCs. I can 3 NPCs done as long as I have a reminder at some point. If nothing else, I'll put them in one note.
There you go. That'll work.
Mm-hmm. All right. In that case, let's get this giveaway going. Well, the giveaway's already going. Thank everyone who's been hanging out, whether you've been lurking, chatting, whatever you've been up to. If you were able to join us in progress, if you've been here from the start, if you had to leave early or you start off, active and had to go lurk because you needed to do other things, I appreciate you all. It is good to have you. So, all right, Pat, I do have you in the giveaway. Um, just so you're aware. Seldom win. Well, I mean, your odds are pretty good considering right now it's a 1 in 4 shot. All right. And with that, I'm gonna go to because I have this lovely stream ending screen. So, George, once again, thank you, and I look forward to our next conversation. It's good to have you here. It's nice having somebody else talking back to me in voice when I do these things. Oh, all right. So let's close the giveaway. And drawing a winner. Well, how about that, Pat? Congratulations. I will get that to you right after the stream ends. We are going to be rating Lord Gazumba, so please stick with us. Get your raid emotes ready, and haven't figured out what next week's stream is going to be about. We'll figure out something. But yeah, we'll see you soon. Rating in 3, 2, 1. Bye now.